This channel is for educational purposes only. Make sure you do your own due diligence before making any investments, and there is inherent risk in trading, so it's speculative. Just make sure you keep that in mind. Hi, this is Joe Rabil. Hope you got an opportunity to see my appearance on stockcharts.com TV. If you haven't, it'll still be up there for another 48 hours, maybe another day or two. And I'm also going to try and put the link into our channel somewhere so that it's available. But just kind of keep an eye out for that. I have a few stock picks in there. I want to talk about the S&P and the QQQ today, just to make sure we're giving a market update. Let me know when you look at this video. I do want to get a little feedback and make sure, when I put the four charts up, I want to make sure they're clear to people. Can you see kind of what I'm saying, or do you really need me to zero in on a specific chart to be able to see what I'm showing? I've never asked for that feedback before, but I do kind of want to get an idea of whether you can see it. It's obviously very advantageous to be able to see all four at the same time. If it's not, if you can't really see, or if everyone's looking at it on their phone and it's just too small, please let me know if you don't mind. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're looking at this and looking for multiple time frame analysis, both on a price patterns as well as indicators. So let's get into the S&P. And I will start with the monthly chart, and what we've done is we've made a pretty good move to the upside, and as I mentioned last time, we had this pause bar that ended up creating a little bit of a tail. If we zero in a little bit, create a little bit of a tail underneath, and that shows that there is some underlying support, I believe, right around that 3,200 area. And so, when I look at this, I kind of feel like I would actually like to see this spend the balance of this month inside of that red bar. In other words, the high and low of that month, I don't really want to see exceeded this month. I'd rather this be a small inside bar, or at least stay inside the range of last month. And I would view that as actually a positive and sort of a constructive thing if it plays out that way. And I actually think that's the highest probability. And especially when we start to go and look at the lower time frame. So as I mentioned, the weekly chart, we bounced right off the 3,200 area and the rising 18-week. And then we rallied up into this resistance zone up here, a little above 3,500. And again, I just think it would be healthy if we saw this sort of consolidate here as opposed to just take off again. I'd really prefer to see some sideways action to maybe gather itself and let a few stocks that have been overbought, maybe work that off a little bit more. I want to go to the daily chart and show the pattern that we've been watching. Is we came up into this resistance area, and that was a pretty harsh sell-off, and we ran into that resistance, and now we've started to pull back. I mean, we should have support at 3,400, somewhere in that zone as we pull in, and obviously the reaction today, when it gapped down, it did not follow through to the downside. It actually bounced off of that, so that is a short-term positive. But we go down to the hourly chart, and I think this is really going to tell the story, because right now what's happening is we're developing this opposing trend pattern where the 18 is about to cross down. In fact, the last bar, it crossed down below the 40, and now we've got this sort of opposing trend developing on this time frame. Notice that you got a zero line pattern developing. Now, we haven't turned yet at the zero line, but we're right around the zero line. So if in fact we can hold this area, and I would actually prefer to see this fail at 3490, come back down one more time and test this area a little bit, maybe let this develop a little bit more before trying to turn up to the upside. And I would view that as being pretty constructive. And if it plays out that way, we won't fight it. Okay, we're looking for support in the 3,400 area, something like that. But if it ends up coming down, holding here, and turning up on the hourly, and you're still in an uptrend on the daily chart, then I think you have to take that trade back to the upside. We sort of have to just keep playing. Now, we're in an uptrend on the monthly chart. We're in an uptrend on the weekly chart. We are very, very close to turning into an uptrend on the daily chart. And right now, we're just pulling back on the hourly. So when you look at it in those four time frames, it's a pretty constructive overall pattern still. I do want to take a look at, let me switch to 4 time frames. We're going to go to the QQQ, and a similar setup to what I'm describing in the S&P. The only difference is, again, when you look at the monthly chart, we are a little bit more stretched, but what we could end up doing here is just spending more time consolidating. And again, I really want this especially, I really don't want this to go and start moving higher right now. I really would prefer for this QQQ to actually spend a month or two working sideways and allow the moving averages to catch up a little bit, because we're a little too extended right now to start another run to the upside. And if we do, it would be the one thing that would really have me concerned about what's taking place, because then I would sort of feel like we're going into some final surging market phase that would probably be some kind of a blow off of some sort. So that's my biggest concern about the way I see this monthly chart right now. If we go to the weekly, very similar pattern to the S&P, only the ADX is actually a little bit stronger. We bounced right off the moving average, the 18 MA, from that standpoint. And so, we're back up into resistance, right around 300. And again, it would make a lot more sense if we spent time backing and filling here, as opposed to just trying to dart through 300 and start a whole new leg right now. It just would be a lot healthier if we spent more time in a sideways consolidation. Let's go to the daily chart. Very similar setup. Again, we're in an uptrend on the monthly chart. We are in an uptrend on the weekly chart. The daily chart is going through very close to turning its trend to the upside, because 18 hasn't crossed above the 40. We still don't consider this to be a full-fledged confirmed uptrend yet, but the 18 is rising and the 40 is rising. So I mean, I feel like the bias is to the upside even on this time frame, and the MACD is doing a pretty good job of turning the corner as well. Let's go to the hourly. And again, I mean, the thing that I think needs to take place here is to watch this over the next 24 to 48 hours. We should get the 18 crossing down below the 40 on the hourly, and that sets up that opposing trend pattern. And if you notice, there's a lot of price support on this time frame. And, we just want to keep an eye out and see how it reacts. We don't have to make a decision. We don't guess. We don't just jump in because we think it's going to hold. You wait for support to hold, and then you wait for a trigger on this hourly time frame, and it'll probably come in the form of a zero-line reversal if it's going to happen right now. If it's not going to happen, then we're going to work our way down closer to 280, and this is going to be a much more complex pattern on the hourly that you don't have to be in a big rush to be a buyer. So we always want to take our cues off the lower time frame, and right now it looks like an orderly pullback even though it had a gap. It really looks okay right now. It just needs a little bit more time. I do want to go back really quickly and show you on an S&P daily chart. I haven't talked about this, but I do want to look at the volatility. So we're just going to take a quick look at this. If you notice what's taking place, and again, I love this. I really do enjoy looking at this particular chart because of the moving average environment. It shows the 18 day and then an 18 week in blue, and then the red line is your 18 month. And you can clearly see all three of these lines are rising. So you have underlying support on 3 different time frames. And that's 3 different types of traders. Short-term, intermediate term, and long-term traders are probably providing support on a pullback. And I think you always want to think like that in terms of being more common sense about what these charts are telling you. So again, the 18 week on here is 33.89, so that is a good sign. One of the things that I thought would point out is we've noticed that there has been a shift. What we thought was an increase in volatility, we're now below the moving average, and the moving average is flat. It hasn't turned negative. It hasn't turned down again. And if that happens, then this part of my market indicator would be considered positive again. Right now, I would consider it more neutral. It had a negative period through here where the volatility had expanded, but because of the way this has rallied up, and it's done it in a more of a neutral, orderly fashion, not a lot of flagrant movement, we're seeing the volatility drop again. So this is just important to keep an eye on. We always want to go through the different factors. The number of the sentiment numbers have dropped somewhat. Actually, they dropped and then they popped. I'll give you a better update on the sentiment numbers next week, but they're not in the glaring negative mode that they were before in terms of too much bullishness. So that's your quick update for the market, and please hit that like button, and we'll talk to you soon.